I'm Andrew Patterson from interest.co.nz, and with me today, Mary Quin, the recently appointed Chief Executive of Callaghan Innovation. Hello, Mary. So, Mary, Callaghan Innovation, you're the founding Chief Executive. What attracted you to the role?
It's a really exciting opportunity. When I first heard about it, I was just intrigued by the idea of being able to have an impact on New Zealand's economy in the long term, and particularly the focus on high technology and high value-added manufacturing and services. It also seemed to me that the challenges of the role called upon everything in my background, and it's not often you get that kind of opportunity in your career.
Because speaking of your background, you have quite an extensive background in industrial research. You've studied academically, and you also spent quite a bit of time in all places called Alaska.
I've lived for about the last 12, 13 years in Alaska and was running a quite large company there of about 3,000 employees. And it was very low-tech in janitorial services, food service, security guards. But most of my career to that point had been in high-tech companies and manufacturing companies, very big organizations like Kodak and Xerox, and also startup companies like Avid Technology and Beta Phase.
What were some of the learnings that you took away from those experiences? Because it's interesting, I mean, you look at Kodak as an example of a company that never really adapted to the change. I mean, obviously had its peak in the 70s and 80s. What did you take away from those experiences?
Well, I got to see in those different companies, again, ranging in size from very small startups to huge multinationals, that product development is challenging and there's always an element of risk in it, but how incredibly important it is to a company's growth and long-term success and competitiveness. So I had the chance to see how a technological idea could lead to digital video editing for the television and movie industry and the success of Avid Technology in that area. Saw how Xerox did some incredibly important things in digital and colour copiers and printers, but is widely known to have missed exploiting some of their own internal R&D developments. And then Kodak, of course, is the textbook case of a company that was not able to make the transition from its historic analog film business, the silver halide film, to the digital era, even though it, I think, saw it coming a long way off.
Did that surprise you when you worked for them? Did they have any sense then? Well, I guess you wouldn't, would you? That something was going to come away and literally take you out?
Even when I was at Kodak, which was from about 1988 to the early 1990s, it was well understood that digital photography would replace silver halide film. And I think there was just such a deeply embedded expertise and culture around its historically very, very successful business model that it just somehow never managed to grasp what the new digital era was all about.
What sort of lessons do you think that creates for New Zealand? Obviously, we don't operate as much in the high-tech sector, although increasingly we're starting to move a little bit towards that area. But what are those warning signals that perhaps companies should be looking out for to think about where that next wave is going to come from?
The important thing is to be constantly scanning globally what are the key trends, what are the emerging technologies, and thinking about how could they impact, whether you're looking at it from an individual firm's perspective or the entire industry or a country's perspective, what are the possible implications for our business as a result of this emerging technology. So that's an important area. And then I think also it's says a lot to us about being willing to change, about not holding on to our comfort zone, the old models of how we worked, how we funded what we do, how we went to market, being open to change and recognising that change is essential to survival.
It's almost more challenging for New Zealand given our geographical distance, so it's almost more incumbent upon us to make sure that surveying of the international landscape is maintained, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's true, although I'm not convinced that physical distance is so relevant anymore. As long as a country has a good infrastructure of air transport and shipping, freight, ports, I don't think that the distance is a big concern. I mean, if you think about the fact that for many markets, we are closer to those markets, for example, in Asia, than the east coast of the United States is, and no one would consider New York City remote. So it's all a matter of perspective.
Let's talk about Callaghan Innovation in terms of what you're trying to achieve. You've filed your statement of intent. Where is Callaghan Innovation intended to fit within the ecosystem, and why is there a need for an organisation like this?
Callaghan Innovation is really created to do three key things: motivate, connect and deliver. And what I mean by that is I think there's an opportunity that we will play a significant role in to find ways to get current business owners and entrepreneurs excited about and confident in the fact that they really can grow to be very big businesses. And also thinking about the next generation of entrepreneurs. So we want to work with the education sector and some of the existing programs to get young people from primary school through to universities excited about science, engineering, technology, but also converting those into successful businesses. The second area of connect is, I think, New Zealand has historically tended to be quite fragmented, a lot of very creative ideas, a lot of world-class science and engineering, but for a quite small country, surprisingly fragmented. So one of the things we're doing is creating national technology networks where we will be the linking mechanism, if you like, between all of the different institutions, teams or individual researchers that have expertise in a particular area of technology, so that we can quickly link firms into the right resource, whether it's a capability inside Callaghan Innovation or whether it's another organisation, a university or a CRI. So that's an important part of connecting. We'll also connect firms to NZTE where they need market help, to the venture capital community if they need help with getting funding. And then the deliver side is really our internal capability to do what we think of as near-market research and technical services to directly help firms get their concepts into the marketplace as quickly as possible.
So in many ways you become like the head office for innovation in New Zealand.
I'd like to think of us that way. I think we have to earn that role, and what I've been very excited about in my 3 months in the role so far is the tremendous interest and willingness to partner with us in every part of New Zealand's ecosystem, if you like, whether it's businesses, whether it's other government agencies, the universities, the economic development agencies. Everybody is excited about the mission, shares the goals, and is very supportive in helping us to be successful. And of course for us, success for Callaghan Innovation is simply the success of the firms that we are here to serve.
One of the things that strikes me is the need for you to have a relatively high profile. You look at the profile that the Ice House, for instance, has managed to achieve, and obviously I guess the ability they've had to create a bit of excitement in the market around that. Is that what you're trying to achieve with Callaghan Innovation as well? It's
really important that businesses, in particular the high value manufacturing and services business that we're focused on, have a good awareness and understanding of what we can do to help them. So that's a high priority for us. But organisations like incubators, like Ice House, have a tremendously important role to play in the process as well.
So how would you, what's the intention of how you interface with someone like the Ice House? Where do the different parts all fit together?
Well, we recognise that Ice House, in fact, I had a meeting just yesterday with the CEO and the chair of the board of Ice House to talk about how we can work together and bring their capabilities and the very effective programs that they have built up and combine those with the things that Callaghan Innovation will be doing. At Callaghan Innovation, we don't want to duplicate any services or capabilities that already exist in New Zealand. We would rather link businesses into those capabilities where they exist, whether it's at the Ice House or any one of a number of other organisations that are doing really great work.
There is a risk, though, that an organisation like this sort of becomes a policy think tank. You've got to have performance milestones as well, don't you?
We do, and we've got direct services that we deliver ourselves, in addition to the fact that the former Industrial Research Limited, IRL, is the biggest part in terms of our headcount of our organisation. So we are continuing all of those R&D programs, particularly in the area that's directly supporting product development for firms. All of that's ongoing. We are also the administrator and provider of the government R&D grants, the growth grants, the project grants, and grants for internships. So we have a dedicated team of people with a lot of expertise in how to help firms apply for those grants, making sure firms are ready to be able to successfully use that funding, and then following up with them over time that the projects are moving as planned.
So what sort of milestones will or have you set for yourself? How do you measure success for an organisation like Callaghan Innovation?
If we were to, say, look out about 5 years into the future, what would I like to see happening? Certainly that there are far more New Zealand companies that are growing in size much more quickly, that are based on technology for their products and services, that we have been successful in linking all the different science and engineering providers around New Zealand so that it's a more seamless process for firms to get the help they need from the right source. We would consider it an important part of our success that the Maori economy is growing strongly in the area of high value manufacturing, and that the Maori corporations around New Zealand are a very strong and integral part of our mission. So I think those are some of the things that we would see as measures of our success. And I think ultimately, we look out at countries like Denmark, Germany, Israel, and look at how they are approaching innovation. What I'd love to see is that there are delegations coming from other parts of the world to look at New Zealand's success in this area.
So has Callaghan Innovation been modelled on something else another country has done, or is this a uniquely New Zealand model?
I think that there has certainly been some very appropriate visits to countries like Denmark and Germany and Israel, and looking at what some of those countries have done, bringing in some of those ideas into the original thinking about what Callaghan Innovation should be. But I think there's also an awareness that every country has a unique set of capabilities, unique culture, unique infrastructure and base industries, and so we have to adapt those good ideas to the New Zealand environment.
You mentioned you're going to be administering the grants, but will you also be applying for grants as an organisation as well too?
Not directly, although what we did discover in a visit to the European Union, that there is an opportunity for New Zealand to become, if you like, an associate member of some of the R&D networks in the European Union, and some of those networks have grants programs that we may be able to participate in, but it's very early days exploring that. Primarily our role is administering the New Zealand government grants for R&D.
And what about the national science challenges? A lot of money is being allocated there, around $70 million. How are they going to work in practice?
Yeah. That's still an area, a work in progress, how each of those national science challenges is going to develop. We will be most directly involved in the challenge that focuses on converting science into technology innovation, and we'll be working very closely with the team that is developing that particular challenge.
Will there be measurable outcomes? Because there's always a risk that you just simply make a lot of prize money available. It doesn't necessarily create a return.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be measurable outcomes, but what exactly those will be are still being developed.
You've based the organisation in Wellington, but would it be not more appropriate for it to be based in Auckland, where ultimately the majority of commercialisation is actually taking place?
We'll have a presence throughout the country, and in some proportion to where the businesses are located. So we'll expect, for example, our people that are focused on working directly with firms around connecting them to resources and looking at their needs for grants will have a higher percentage of those positions based in the Auckland area because there are more firms here. But we are headquartered in Wellington. We have our very large research facility at Gracefield in Lower Hutt, so we have a strong presence in the Wellington region. We also have a number of people based in both doing lab work and research in several locations in Christchurch.
How do you expect the wider public, I guess, to interface with an organisation like Callaghan Innovation?
Our interface is primarily with businesses and with partner organisations, but certainly we want to keep the New Zealand public aware of what we're doing, what successes we're having, and how it's translating into success for the New Zealand economy, because that affects everybody to the extent it creates new jobs and it creates higher paying jobs that are more highly skilled and technology intensive. So in that sense, I think our mission is a mission that all New Zealanders can share in.
How big is this challenge going to be for you personally?
It's been tremendously interesting and exciting so far, and I know that's going to continue. It is a challenge, and that was, for me, part of the attraction of taking it on. But we've got some very talented people, very committed people in the organisation, and I'm totally confident we're going to achieve some great things.
Are there particular sectors that you think we really should be focusing on? Is it a picking winners situation, or have you got a very open brief about where you think this innovation is going to come from in the future?
One of the strengths that New Zealand has, and I've become more appreciative of since I've been back, is how diverse are the industries that there are New Zealand firms involved in. I mean, everything from biotechnology, medical devices, to video games and digital entertainment, communications, navigational products. I mean, just an incredible variety of high value businesses, and with potential to grow into global markets. So I think it's a real strength, and if we can grow across all of those different industries to the point that they become as large as eventually, potentially our primary industries, then New Zealand will continue long into the future to be in a very, very strong economic position.
What do you think are the major challenges and obstacles that you're going to have to face moving to some of these KPIs that you're looking for Callaghan Innovation?
None of it is, if I could say it this way, rocket science. I think it's a matter of simply doing the hard work in many ways of aligning not only our own organisation and staffing it in the right way to be effective, but it's also a matter of being successful with our collaboration and communication with other science and engineering providers and with businesses themselves. And so none of it is insurmountable, but it all just takes hard work and focus and commitment, and I think a sense of optimism that we all have about the future.